practices that you think farmers, or those technologies that you think that would actually help farmers on the long run. Now, you also know that in the country that we are in right now, there's just little or nothing. I mean, our governments are too busy. I like to use that, and most of these farmers are basically like on their own, right? So what are those farming practices that you think small scale farmers should, inculcate or adopt in order for them to regardless of what the climate change, what the climate challenges what they are, right? They'll be able to, still be able to farm, they'll still be able to get their crops, they'll still be able to sell and all of those things.
Yeah, so when it comes to farming practices, right, one major one that can be practiced by small farmers is crop rotation. Basically, they can rotate their crop for different seasons. Like they can practice crop rotation, and if crop rotation is practiced properly, it has a way at which for each crop in the right season, it has a way that they help to like add more nutrients to the soil while also growing properly. So by the time you are planting the next crop in your rotation line, right, it's also going to do exactly the same thing. Not that the crop will take all the nutrients away from the soil, and by the time you are planting next, I mean, there is nothing for you in the other season, right? So one, they can practice crop rotation. Another thing that they can practice is mixed, what's it called, agroforestry. They can practice agroforestry. Agroforestry is actually planting trees within your crop environment.
What does it do?
So basically, when you have a farmland, the normal idea is just plant crop all through.
Yeah.
Now you are planting an actual tree within it. So the tree is going to like help you to like add more nutrients, carbon emission is going to absorb carbon, add more carbon to what's it called?
Sorry.
To the soil, right? Then also when it comes to fertilizers, right, they can manage the fertilizers that they use. They need to like learn appropriate use of fertilizers. Many a times there are some fertilizers that are being used that will have effects on the next season. For instance, this is raining season, right? So now you are using a fertilizer that, according to the side effect of that particular fertilizer, during drought season is going to have effects on your crop. Right, so that is another way at which small-scale farmer can actually, when they know the right fertilizers to use. So you just like make a list of prediction. Okay, this is the crop I want to plant in this season. This is the best fertilizers to use because it's still going to like help me in the next stage. So these are minor ways in the farmer's sphere that they can actually use to like reduce the effects of climate on their crop production and also help the what's it called, the land in general to like regenerate itself.
All right, that's very interesting. I wish we started this discussion firstly from even understanding this whole climate change thing, looking at the past, the present, and maybe not the future for now, but just the past and the present. I mean, in Nigeria, we've seen our weather has changed a whole lot. I mean, when we can, before now, we can guess when Hamatan is going to come, but right now, just hope. Anytime it comes, it meets you, right? Our raining season, our sunny season, everything has just scattered. Do you understand? And I think it's impacting our agriculture very, very well. And then couple it with the economic pressure that we're having. But I want to just confirm, do you think that we as Nigerians were having the most effect of this whole climate condition as compared to other countries? Or is there a way that we've been able to survive through it all? I just want to know that.
When it comes to Nigeria as a country, right, I won't really say that we are like at the major impacting end of this whole climate. There are some other countries out there that are in worst case scenario than us, right? So naturally, we are not actually at that extreme yet. Right? We are not at that extreme yet. So right now, Nigeria is still like in a very good state when it comes to agriculture. But moving forward, according to the research and prediction, things are likely to get even worse when it comes to our climate. Like, I mean, more hot temperature, more like unpredicted seasons, whereby rain just come whenever it wants to come. You are expecting, what's it called? You are expecting sun, right? So I mean, you are seeing rain and stuff like that. So Yes.
Interesting.
What
So
do
let's,
we do?
I'm sorry to cut you short. We have to take a short break. When we return, we'll continue our conversation on climate change solutions for Nigerian farmers. Stay with us. We'll be right back shortly.
Life is made up of moments, some that lift us, others that break us. Welcome to Heartlines. This is our space where we explore the beauty, the heartbreaks, and the incredible strength that every relationship brings into our lives. Friendship, marriages, partnerships, and everything in between.
Yes, say yes.
All the connections that shapes who we are today. Every week, we dive into the stories that define us. Stories of love, loss, heartbreaks, and healing. Real life stories from real people, just like you and I. Heartlines is where emotions meet understanding, and where we learn that we're never truly alone. Join me Mondays through Fridays at 9:30 p.m. for Heartlines, where we connect with every heart, one story at a time.
Welcome back, viewers. Thank you for staying with us. Today is Friday. We're discussing technology, but today has a spice of agriculture in it. We're discussing how climate change solutions for Nigerian farmers, and we have been joined by an expert guest. All right, Gus Beauty, we're going to ask him a question.
Yeah, so it was a follow-up from what he was saying, right? I mean, what exactly, do you think is there something we can do about this whole climate change and all? I mean, just like you said, we don't know when rain is going to fall anymore. It's not like before that say, oh, by this time to this time, rain will fall nowhere and a rainy season and all of that. So what exactly, is there something that we can do? Or, and I don't know if this is part, but I know that most of the times where, I mean, you hear people say that, oh, get one party where one day, so they will not pay people that is holding rain. And all of, no, you know, no, it's interesting, but something like that do happen because, I mean, it's part of our culture and all of these things, so you can somehow not take it away. And I cannot say it's a lie. I feel like it does happen.
You've seen it happen.
I've not seen it happen. I've not seen it happen. But the baby boomers, they make it look like it's something that does happen. And so I don't know, is that also part of like the problem
I think
of
we should call
climate
this
challenge?
climate change, technology, and traditional.
I don't know.
transition.
Well, actually, when it comes to the traditional holding of rain, I've heard it also. Well, I don't know if I have seen it actually. Do I believe in it? Not really. Because I mean, holding rain.
Who are you to hold rain?
So I don't really believe in it. And of course, it's not the solution. I mean, from what I have heard about the holding rain stuff, like they said if they hold it here, it's going to like fall in another
Other
location.
places.
So basically, they are not holding anything. And yeah, I don't.
They're transferring the rain.
Okay, as if they are good. So yeah, let's go back to the video. So yes, there are ways at which this thing can be solved, and it's not only a Nigerian problem; it's actually a global problem, right? The whole countries, US, UN, and all other countries are working towards climate solutions, like in different perspectives and in different aspects and what's it called, organization and institutions. There has been a lot of researches here and there that are currently ongoing, right? And yes, we have solutions that have been proposed, which one of them is carbon sequestration. And carbon sequestration is actually a very big thing in the European countries. Like we are currently bringing it down to Africa, right? But it's currently very big in the European countries, right? And it's not just all about, we are trying to like save the world now. It's also about I am making money alongside.
Okay, for who? The people
For the
selling it or the
farmers.
farmers themselves?
Both the people selling, the intermediaries, that's the what's it called, the people that are acting as like the kind of manager to know how much you are trying to like, how much carbon you are trying to take away from the atmosphere, and the organizations that will pay then the farmers. So it's like a B2B kind of thing, right? So definitely farmers are going to make money. The company acting as an intermediary, like the manager, is going to make money. And
I want to understand how farmers make money from it. Is it because their proceeds will now become better, or are they selling what they're giving them? I want to understand that farmers making money.
How carbon sequestration works, the idea of carbon sequestration is simply taking away carbon from the atmosphere and putting it into soil. Now, from research, the biggest carbon absorber from the atmosphere is actually water. After water is now the soil, right? So now what's it called? The process at which it works is there's something we call biochar, right? So biochar is just like a charcoal, but it is made up of biomass that has been heated at high temperature with less oxygen, not less oxygen, a process called pyrolysis. Less oxygen because people will start asking questions about, are they not burning to like release carbon back to the atmosphere? No, that's why we have less oxygen, right? And it's a process called pyrolysis. So it doesn't release much carbon to the atmosphere. And this biochar is going to like be spread across a particular farmland. It has the capacity of not only adding nutrients, more nutrients to the soil, but also absorbing carbon from the atmosphere. So how it works is we have companies like S-Mart, which is acting as these we call it C-Sync manager. They are basically acting as the C-Sync manager. So farmers are going to like come to a company like S-Mart, for instance. So the farmer is going to like tell them the hectares of land that they have, look at the possibility of how many vouchers can they spread across. Then I think it is about $150 to $300 per tons of what's it called? Per tons of voucher, I think. So they are going to, that's how much the farmer have the capacity or the tendency of earning in the whole process, right? So what's brought about all this is, before now, there's this ideology of big companies releasing a lot of carbon to the atmosphere. There's a way we calculate all these things where the transportation will be summed up. I think we have 3 levels. This transportation will be summed up. Okay, what's the like average estimate of carbon being released from all the cost of transportation by all your workers in the organization? What about your machineries and all of that? So after calculating it, they will bill you. So a lot of companies, they build them, but that is no longer working. I mean, we are billing you, we are getting money from you, but we are not using it to like do anything. So we are now looking at things like carbon sequestration, which brought about voucher, which will help farmers to like make money, then remove atmosphere carbon from the atmosphere. And over time, this process has been said to like reduce the overall carbon in the whole world, right? Because a lot of, I mean, I'm very sure about the European countries, few countries in, what's it called, in Africa that are doing it currently, but in the Europeans, a lot of them are currently doing it and they are making money from it.
Very interesting.
Interesting. So now there's not how we are going to talk about the entire agriculture space without talking about livestock. Speaking of livestock, we have the chicken. And, we are already in November. Everybody's already thinking of how to grow a 6-week chicken and pump it up to be sold by Christmas for 15,000 naira. And then we also have the likes of mouse, pigs, and all of those things. Does climate change affect breeding these animals? Or I don't want to use the word animal now. Should I use like pet?
Livestock.
Livestock, yeah, thank you. So does climate change affect growing of livestock? Is there a favorable weather to grow broiler chickens? Is there favorable weather to grow local chickens or to grow mouse or to grow this thing? I want to understand how climate change has to play in the livestock breeding.
Okay. The first question, does climate change affect them? The answer is yes, because, I mean, it affects everybody, even we humans, so it definitely affects them. Now, in the process of livestock, right, how climate affects them is in their own habitat. Just like humans, the way we live, when there is rain, we know there is rain. When there is heat, we know there is heat, and all of that. The same thing is applicable to these livestock, right? So it affects them in their habitat environment. So anything happening to climate is also affecting their habitat, so it's having effect on them. And some of these things might even result to the
Mass death.
Huh?
Mass death of the...
Yes, one, mass death. Two, also in production. The way, like you made mention of, this is what's it called? Almost festive period, right? Everybody's expecting chicken.
Yeah.
If the chicken are not like producing the way they ought to, it's going to be a problem, right? So that is also another effect of climate indirectly, because we have direct and indirect impact of climate on different things.
I was going to ask this question. So, when we talk about climate change, it seems as though the power is not really in our hands. It's just what's happening in the environment. But I'd like us to still even check and observe. Are there practices that farmers engage in that seems to even make, livestock, cause an impact and even worsen the whole situation, inclusive with the climate change?
Yes, there are some best practices, and there are some practices that are just like, let's just, have a lot of produce to like send out, right? So yes, there are those two sides of things, right? So there are ways at which farmers themselves actually do or engage in these practices that are not so good, that is having effect not only on the livestock itself, but also on climate in general.
Can you tell us some of these practices?
Okay, so for instance, now when we are looking at livestock management, right, and we are looking at the, what's it called, that are being released, the feces and all of those things that are being released by all these livestock, they can actually later be turned to a manure, right? But sometimes some of these farmers, right, they don't actually know that, and sometimes they don't know the process at which it can be turned into a manure, right? Because there is also a way, all these things are chemical composition. There is a way at which you can go about the process that will release more methane into the atmosphere. And methane is part of the greenhouse gases. So farmers need to actually be educated on best practices when it comes to livestock management for both solving climate issues and also for maximum yield in their their livestock production.
Okay.
So I like the fact that you started on this note, because it was a bit surprising to me that, okay, you as a farmer, you don't know that, the feces from these animals can actually be turned into manure. That's something that they actually taught us while we were staying in primary school, except if there are other probably chemical whatever that needs to be added, right? So I'd want to ask now, what are those things, for future purpose, what are those things that you think farmers need to know? I want to understand it, down to, partnership probably with the government, with NGOs that can support, help, get technologies that also help, with challenge this climate change. So I'd like you to, put us on that.
Okay. When it comes to knowledge acquisition, I think we actually have a lot of assumption when it comes to the agricultural industry in Nigeria. And that is most likely because of the side of that we are in, right? Currently, we are on the western part. Most of all these things happens at the northern part. The truth is, these northerners are not, or don't let me use northerners now, these, like everybody in that side, right, they actually aren't all well educated. They are not all well educated to actually know the do's and don'ts, right? So we just assume, like from our experiences so far with talking to someone, in fact, we were kind of even surprised at some points where there's this discussion about agriculture and experience meeting with farmers and declining solutions to the problem because they feel they are comfortable with what is currently going on. Right? So all those things are also part of the, things that is affecting. So government needs to actually come in to like help with education, agricultural education. I'm being specific with agricultural education now to these farmers. We need to have more communities. I know we have few communities for farmers and all of that, but we need to like have more communities that will help farmers to like learn, unlearn and relearn some of the things that they are engaged with, right? So those are the ways I feel that farmers can actually go about it.
Concerning technologies that farmers can use, I think there's something called, is it weather forecasting?
Yes.
Can you give us some insight on that? Is it very effective?
Yes, I would say. But again, back to the previous question, education. Actually, to be sincere, most of all these farmers, I'm being specific because before now, I am always on the side of, oh, okay, farmers that actually know what they are doing. But it has shown that the farmers that know what they are doing is about 10-15% of what they are. So basically, then the other percentage is maybe like an organization, all this farming organization now, you know, so they basically have a lot of hectares and all. But I mean, these rural farmers, these northerners that are bringing the tomatoes and all of those things that we are using, we need to actually focus more on them to even increase food security in Nigeria. We need to like pay more attention to them, find a way at which we can help them to understand that there's something called weather forecasting. There's something that says, okay, at so day, at so period, there is going to be like a rainfall of this level. There's going to be like sun of these estimates.
But my question is, these technological apps themselves, are they even very effective? Like, what's the, there's a way you can grade the effectiveness by percentage, right?
Yeah, so the effectiveness is one based on the source.
Okay, better.
It's based on the source. You know, when if you are getting your, there are some. Okay, then let me talk about it. I'm actually about to talk about the meteorological, what's it called, centers that we have in Nigeria. I mean, God will help us at that side because I mean, if these things are actually functional, we as Nigerians ought to actually have a proper weather forecast system. So that's going to be like the source. If that is the source, all the applications that we are seeing, they are not the source. They are just consumers presenting it to the end users. So if we have a very good source that is reliable, so the question about accuracy is how accurate is the source? What system are the source using to like, I know, I'm very sure everybody knows channels like their weather forecasting, this thing. So how accurate is the system? And to an extent, we need some transparency. We need some transparency. If you are telling us, okay, we are bringing weather forecast system, how are you getting your results? I know about the other countries. I know some of them have satellites, right? So directly from these satellites and some other equipment, like meteorological equipment, they're able to obtain this information. But if we come down to Nigeria, the question is how many of these equipments do we have? Who is in charge of these equipment? Right? How efficient are the equipment and all? So from here downwards, that's when we now decide are the applications, are they actually correct? And I'm emphasizing from top because I've been in a situation where I had to like consume an API. API is basically an endpoint from all these sources. And I realized that, okay, this source that I'm even using is not even in Nigeria.
Interesting.
Is not in Nigeria. So the accuracy of that information won't be as accurate as if we have it here in Nigeria, giving us the exact information.
That will lead me to my next question. Permit me to ask two questions in one. What do you think is the future of agriculture in Nigeria? Does it look like it's going... I think it was in the news not too long ago. It said the future of agriculture in Nigeria is declining because of insecurity challenges and our harsh weather conditions. Flood today, hot sun tomorrow. So what do you think is the future for agriculture in Nigeria, both livestock and then farming? And then to invest in agriculture right now in Nigeria, like how many millions or how many thousands of naira are we talking about?
Okay, for the first question, the future of Nigeria, I'm being optimistic and I'm going to say the future of Nigeria is still bright in agriculture, right? But again, there are things we need to like put in place. Like you said, a lot of people are losing interest generally in agriculture because of things that are happening. But then the future is still agriculture because basically people need to eat. In as much as people need to eat, we still need to like go back into agriculture. But the difference now is we are going back in a more structured and proper way to like have maximum crop yield and maximum livestock production. So for the future of agriculture, I'm going to say that it's still bright. I believe in Nigeria.
I love that.
It's still bright, right? Then at the other side, when it comes to investment, I think that's one of the issues that we are currently having in agriculture generally. I would say that there is no much investment around the agricultural system, just few here and there for SMEs in agriculture, right? And that is because it takes a lot of money, like, I mean, a very lot, millions.
What is now the
money.
ROI looking like? If it's taking a lot of money, what's the ROI looking like?
It actually depends on what exactly you want to do. For instance, if you are doing farming, what specific lists of crop do you want to be farming? So based on that, you will now start considering. I can't actually give like an estimate because there are a lot of
Different crops.
different
Their
things
prices.
happening, right? So it now depends on, okay, I want to plant tomato, this and that. So I will now take a look at it. What and what do I need to have maximum yield from this tomato that I want to like plant? Then I will get the machineries, I will get the people that will be helping me on the farm and all of those things. So it's actually, then at the livestock too. Livestock is currently not cheap, right? Then also, it is one thing to buy. You need to like buy male and female, so
Crossbreed.
you can start crossbreeding and all of those things, right? So it's just very expensive. And I think if you want to invest, it's actually, except you are like, you have the money to like start off from scratch. One of the things that is good to do is partnership. There is no point in trying to like start your own, and that's not even how investment works. Investment is you being able to identify out of all these farmers that we have, out of all these people that are doing livestock that we have, identify prospects. Okay, this person is only having this issue because of maybe education or because of money to like add more to it. So if I bring in someone who is educated to manage the system, this is what is likely to happen. That is how investment works, and that is actually the best way to go in agriculture.
This has been a very interesting discussion. I would have loved us to talk a bit about what your company does, S-Smart, but we've run out of time. So maybe you would tell us. I'm sorry, audience. Just come and meet us. We'll let you know what he said. This is where we wrap up the show. It's been very exciting from Monday through to Friday. So next week again, we continue the chain 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Ways Breakfast. Catch you next week. Have a great weekend.
Hello, you. Yes, you. This is Usayome Sale from Ways Prime Time. Now, we appreciate your continued support for watching our content, following us across all our social media. But we've noticed, for those of you watching us on YouTube, 88.5% of you who watch our content unsubscribe to our channel. Why? Now, if you are enjoying our content, you enjoy our shows, and you want to stay updated on all things Ways, it's time to hit that subscribe button below. Now, subscribing isn't just for you. It's for the growth of our channel. It helps us get bigger and better. With your support, we can continue to bring even more intriguing and exciting content. How about you subscribing right now and being a part of our community?